really didn't expect so many reveals and so many returns to be happening on this Raw tonight. For some reason, SummerSlam was treated like WrestleMania this year. I don't understand why, but it was. With the whole 4-hour thing, it was given the whole WrestleMania treatment. And you can kind of tell with this Raw tonight. This Raw was kind of sort of like a WrestleMania after Raw, which is always the best Raws to watch. Everybody stays tuned to the Raw after WrestleMania because it's always the best. It has the best reveals. There's always things that changes up, and it completely changes the game. There was a lot of things going on tonight. A lot of things that were revealed, and we had a bunch of returns. Well, not a bunch of them, but we had a few that were great. So, but the opener was pretty interesting. Of course, Brock Lesnar was pissed after what happened last night, having Taker tapping out, and then they kind of had a royal mess up, and he did the low blow, and how cheap that was. You guys saw my review. You know how I feel about that. But I will say that, of course, you got Paul Heyman being golden on the mic, literally making Brock Lesnar look good without Brock Lesnar saying a word. That is a good manager. He makes you look good no matter what. And him calling out Taker, it would have been great if Taker came out. It would have been an awesome match if we actually did see Taker perform on Raw. We haven't seen Taker fight on Raw in years. And correct me if I'm wrong, leave it in the comments, whatever. But we haven't seen Taker actually fight on Raw in a very long time. It would have been great if Taker was there and we actually did see a match. But we didn't get that. We got the believer, Bo Dallas. Man, I think that was a bad move on their part. Bo Dallas really does need to be lifted up a little bit more than how he has been. He has been slaughtered right and left by legends, by the mid-card, and even by the toughest dogs in the yard. He has not really been able to stand on his own 2 feet in a minute. And honestly, Bo Dallas has a great gimmick. I love condescending heels. I always have a good time watching condescending heels. And he is one of my favorites. Well, he's starting to grow on me. But I believed that he went straight to Suplex City, not once, not twice, but multiple times. And it wasn't really good for Bo Dallas, him being out there. And it wasn't really good for them to actually allow him to go out there. Bo Dallas needs to look good. He really does. He hasn't looked good in a very long time. He hasn't had a decent feud in a long time. And he really needs it. His streak is up. He's got nothing else. Come on, make him look good. Seriously. But we've had a few expected turns in the middle of tonight. Everybody was kind of expecting Dean Ambrose to have a heel turn, even though Dean Ambrose is technically kind of a heel. Some people say he's an in-betweener. For me, in my opinion, he's an anti-hero. He's probably the third anti-hero that I have seen on television in a while. There have been 2 legendary ones, of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin and CM Punk. Now we got Dean Ambrose, and in my opinion, Dean Ambrose is an anti-hero. So I doubt that he'll be heel, and it makes no sense for him to be heel. But actually, for that match that we saw with Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose versus the Wyatt family, the most interesting, I guess, debut of the latest Wyatt family member, Braun Strowman, which is supposed to be the black sheep of Sister Annabelle, Sister Abigail actually, made it really interesting to see him. That guy was a flat-out brute. He's the same height as Luke Harper. And he's just straight up dominant. But honestly, he's a little bit better than Eric Rowan. I don't mind not seeing Eric Rowan again. I actually am interested in seeing how Braun is going to be the Braun of the Wyatt family. And I really think that the Wyatt family is going to finally be the dominant family they should have been a long time ago. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. Because I really don't want Roman Reigns to get his comeuppance just yet. But in a way, he kind of did last night. But it's not completely done. And it shows they have a lot more to do with, a lot more fun to have with the Wyatt family. And I'm looking forward to see where they're going to go from here, especially with their new member. But man, we just got so many people popping up right and left. We end up getting the return of the Dudley Boys. Like right after that tag match that they had with the New Day versus the Lucha Dragons, and then you had the primetime players sitting in the sidelines all moping and stuff. But then it was so great to see the Dudley Boys return. And it was great for Brooklyn because they had the biggest pop I've ever heard. Not to mention that they actually just spit out all those wonderful catchphrases that we miss and that we remember during the Attitude Era. And then, man, it was great. It was just great. And the fact he was like, Devon, get the tables. I'm like, I was so happy. Devon, get the tables. It probably didn't sound like that, but either or, guys, it was great. It really was. It was great to see Xavier Woods go straight through that table. Wonderful. But anyway, it was even better. It was even a better night for me when I actually saw the Nature Boy. You guys know how I am about the Nature Boy. Actually seeing the Nature Boy going out there in the Jon Stewart segment was great. And speaking of Jon Stewart, I was pissed at him from last night after I saw what happened with that whole outcome. Because honestly, don't get me wrong, I'm glad and I am happy that Jon Stewart is a diehard fan. But it really pisses me off when diehard fans take their matters in their own hands and interferes in the match, pretty much changing the outcome of how the match should be. Because honestly, Seth Rollins needed to have that win clean. It would have been completely legit for him to be a champ if he had a clean win, but he didn't. John interfered. I was pissed. But his response was the one thing that kind of made me forget all that. Because I'm like Jon Stewart. I don't want the Nature Boy's 16-time championship streak to be, matched by John Cena. I don't want that to happen. I want his streak to remain unscathed, which I doubt will happen. But either or, all I have to say is I just didn't want John Cena to take it so soon. I would have been fine if it just remained the way it was, but honestly, it's not. So, but the thing is that the Nature Boy said he was cool with it, and he was fine because he respected John Cena, which kind of makes me scratch my head. Everybody remembers a year ago when John Cena literally had his butt handed to him by the Beast Brock Lesnar, and everybody was questioning whether or not he was even able to defeat him. And who was on the panel of legends? The Nature Boy. Who is the skeptic of the panel? Not only Shawn Michaels, but the Nature Boy. The only person that actually was for John Cena, of course, I'm just going to say his name anyway, Hulk Hogan. There you go. But anyway, I find it hard to believe that he's actually on the side of Cena, seeing how he was a skeptic last year. But despite all that, I never really expected John Cena to actually do the AA to Jon Stewart because John Cena is supposed to be the top babyface. And babyfaces don't do that. They are supposed to be, they get angry, but they don't harm people. He kind of went outside of his character, but the whole definition of babyface has changed over the years. So I will say this. That was something I didn't expect, even though I would understand why he would do it. But I didn't expect that he was going to do it. And he did it. So there. He actually did body slam Jon Stewart in that segment. But let's go from one of the best segments of the night to one of the worst. Okay, Miz TV. Miz TV usually brings on some excellent guests. They usually have banter back and forth, and sometimes it's interesting. It wasn't this time. The one thing that bothers me about those divas, I love me some Charlotte. I love me some Becky Lynch. I love me some Paige. And yeah, I like the Bellas. They're cool, and I'm still not a fan of Alicia Fox, but either or. They can't read to save their lives. They have no emotion, zero emotion. All they tried to do was remember their lines. But they had zero emotion going into it. Zero. They had more emotion on Total Divas than they did during that segment. They sound like freaking robots. And I'm like, guys, I know you're better than this. I know Charlotte's better than this. I know that Becky's better than this. And especially Paige. I'm like, come on. They sound like machines. And then Nikki just sounds really ridiculous. And it was like, oh yeah? Well, yeah, take this from me. You go and take this belt from me, lady. Come on. They sound so rigid and stiff. It was ridiculous. And then what makes matters worse is that we had a Divas match that went on way too long. The crowd was finished. They were done with it. They said all kinds of crap pretty much throughout the match. We want Lana. We want Sasha. Boring. They did not like this match. But they were flat out rude pretty much throughout, well, not throughout the whole night, but you knew what they didn't like and you knew what they liked. And honestly, I would have to say that the Brooklyn crowd is not the exact equivalent of the Philly crowd, because they're a little bit more tamer and they're a little bit more lenient than the Philly crowd. But or they were rude at some times, and they were really rude when it came to the Divas. They were trying to entertain and they were just being jerks. But honestly, I will say that the match really was boring. It was slow. The segment was slow. It needed to end quickly, and it shouldn't have ended in a match. And if they had a match, it should have been quick, done. Because honestly, there was one person that everybody wanted to see, and that was the boss, Sasha Banks. But she unfortunately probably was injured, and of course she wasn't out there. Neither was Team Bad. So yeah, it was bad not having Team Bad out there, and it was even worse when you didn't have the boss out there. So they should have ended it quickly, but it went on way too long. But guys, we ended up having an 8-man, I guess an 8-man team match, something like that. But for real, I didn't care, because I knew anybody that had Randy Orton on their team was going to win. Seriously, no doubt. I thought it was going to win, and that was it. And I didn't really care much about it. I really didn't. I should have, but I didn't. But anyway, we ended up having Seth Rollins having a big reveal later on down the line about the stupid statue that was bronzed of him that didn't look like him at all. But the one thing that kind of got me was, why were they treating this like a Hall of Fame ceremony? I don't understand it at all. They treated SummerSlam like it was WrestleMania, and they're treating Raw like it was a Raw after WrestleMania, which I don't mind, because those Raws are always great. But why are they having this whole bronze statue of Seth Rollins like it is the Hall of Fame ceremony? And why they're adding him like, I mean, they're making it larger than life when it really shouldn't be larger than life. But I will say it was nice for them to actually give a shout out to Vince for his 70th birthday. And I'm like, dang, you're old. I mean, not so much the fact that he's old, but it's like that I just remember him when he was in his 40s. Actually, I remember him when he was in his 30s. And that was a long time ago. So it's hard to believe the man is 70, and it was really nice for his daughter as well as his son-in-law to give him a shout out in the middle of the ring. And I know he was probably pissed about it, but it was nice. It really was nice and very appropriate, and I liked it, especially with something else pretty much beyond the fourth wall. I liked that. I kind of enjoyed that little part. But the biggest reveal of the night was the big reveal, or the big debut of Sting. Sting actually made his return, and I don't know what he's going to be doing with Seth Rollins or not, but it's actually going to be, I guess, a feud for the championship. But more than likely, Sting is coming back to try to face Taker. We know this. He's facing Taker at WrestleMania 32. And I'm like, oh gosh, why? I don't know why. So in other words, they're going to squash this whole thing with Brock really quick. And I don't think a lot of people are going to be happy. I know I'm not happy. But something tells me that they're going to squash this quick, because they're going to have Sting at WrestleMania 32, him against Taker. Boy. But guys, my overall thoughts of Raw is this. I know there's a few matches that I probably did forget. But honestly, I will say that there was a lot of big reveals. A lot of big debuts. A lot of returns for this Raw. And it did make it interesting. This Raw felt like a Raw after WrestleMania. It was really, really interesting. Don't get me wrong. The Diva segment was completely boring. I didn't care much about the 8-man tag, because I kind of knew who was going to win. But the whole thing with the New Day and the return of Dudley Boys and the new Wyatt family member makes it all interesting in what's going to happen next week, and definitely what's going to happen for the Night of Champions. Because guys, we're not that far off from when, if you honestly think about it, we don't have that long. Well, actually, we do have that long to the next WrestleMania, but it's really starting to creep up pretty soon. And I'm really thinking that they're trying to do their best to build it up. And you can kind of tell. Especially with this whole SummerSlam thing being 4 hours. They're literally trying to hype up WrestleMania really early. And seeing how this Raw and how it panned out really made me feel like it was the Raw after WrestleMania. But don't get me wrong, some of the segments were bad, but I did kind of enjoy myself through some of them. So, but I really want to hear y'all's thoughts. But I mean, I guess my overall thoughts is it was good. It wasn't horrible. It actually was pretty entertaining. But there were some segments that I didn't get, as well as the Diva segment was just flat out trash. But still, I want to hear y'all's thoughts about it. Leave a comment in the comment section below. If you guys send video responses still, send me that. But honestly, guys, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what Raw is going to be for next week, as well as what the next pay-per-view is going to be. So I'm really curious about it, but I want to hear y'all's thoughts. It's Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out, guys. Later.